It's time for Around the Ozarks Sports Scene, sponsored by Fast Break Sports and The Pitch. Here's your host, Scott Puryear.
Welcome into another edition of Around the Ozarks Sports Scene. I am Scott Puryear. As always, a big thank you to you, the viewers and listeners, for tuning in or turning off, whichever. Hopefully you don't do the latter. But we love to talk sports on this once a week. We bring in the newsmakers, the hot topics in the Ozarks, and today we're talking some Willard Baseball with Coach Scott McGee. Scott, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me on, and thanks for everything you've done in Southwest Missouri sports for several decades now.
I appreciate it. Yeah, thanks for making me old officially with that several decades thing. You could have said maybe a few years and kept it. So I got to ask you, from one Scott to another, do you get the Scotty thing a lot? I mean, I get it from certain – huh?
I do. When I was young, it happened all the time.
Yeah.
And I was actually just talking to one of my coworkers who was down in Ozark the other day, and they said, "Oh, you must know Scotty McGee." And they're like, "Well, no one calls him that, but yeah, but at Ozark, everyone calls me that." So I don't really love it, to be honest with you.
Well, it's better now with Scotty Scheffler, because if he were just Scott Scheffler, it wouldn't be. He's kind of bringing Scotty back in vogue. But, I go back to Coach Stratton, a friend of both of ours, and every Scott is Scotty. Scotty Nasby, Scotty McGee, Scotty Puryear. My wife's friends call me Scotty P. I want to thank the guy in We're the Millers for bringing Scotty P back, popular there too. But I just wondered if I'm the only one that has Scotty syndrome, and I'm okay with it. Yeah, I mean, there's not much we can do about it anyway, right?
Correct. There's nothing we can do about it.
Yeah, so Willard Tigers baseball, hot again. I was thinking about this, before the show, and you guys have kind of been for years the Webb City football of area baseball, if that makes sense. And what I mean by that is Webb City football, they just keep churning out teams, different names, same results. They win districts, they win conference championships, they compete for state titles and win state titles. They have blue-collar, hardworking kids. So it's really a compliment, I would think. But have you ever thought of it that way, that you guys might be the baseball version of Webb City?
I don't think we're there yet, but I love that you said that. That's one of the programs we've always tried to model ourselves after because of the things you said. I wouldn't call myself a friend of John Roderick. I'm an admirer of him. And every time I get a chance to speak with him, I actually just talked to him for a while on Monday night. I try to pick up things from him. How he set up his program, and I know there were people before him as well, but that streamline everything. His value on youth football, middle school football, freshman football, running the exact same stuff as your varsity. We've tried to do that exact same thing in the baseball world. I don't think our postseason success is quite to their level yet, but I do try to model that no matter who we have and who graduates, there's a way we can kind of reconfigure our team to be really good every year.
Well, and the other part of that too is just like Webb City, you guys are not blessed every year with 2 or 3 Division I guys. And, you got guys that go to junior colleges, NAIA, D2, you get some D1s here and there, just like Webb City. I mean, that, you look back outside of Grant Wistrom and Mark Smith, it's just been a parade of guys that went on and played and starred in a lot of cases at Pitt State and area Missouri Southern, places like that. So it just seems like that you are kind of the model of what they're doing. And got to ask you from a youth baseball standpoint, since you brought that up, how far do you go back where you get involved? What age do you guys like to get them started?
We actually have our own T-ball organization out here. Wow. And that's mainly done to identify what coaches we want starting when the kids are 6. I would say they don't really take baseball seriously until 8. Age 8 is when they kind of start to play 35 games a year, and then we kind of add 10 games a year from that age group on. And then so we have a youth director who kind of heads up all of that stuff. And then I basically take over with the group starting in 7th grade, and 7 through 12 is with me and with our high school coaching staff. And so basically they know everything that's going on in our program beginning in 7th grade. But that youth baseball piece has been really big for us, just growing up playing together. Our current varsity basically all played together starting in 3rd grade. And so all the kids are friends, their parents know each other. They know what the expectations are, and that's been a huge help to us. Yeah.
Yeah, and football is a little different because I know they might try to instill some of the basic offensive sets and things like that, maybe fifth, sixth, seventh grade. So by the time they get to high school football, it's ingrained in them. Baseball is just fundamentals and kind of the way Willard Tigers like to play baseball.
Yeah, I think it's kind of the points of emphasis they're going to have when they're older. We do all the same picks. We do all the same first and third defenses and offenses. I think that stuff is kind of small potatoes compared to the grand scheme of things. We kind of have a certain way we want our offensive players to play and a certain things we value with our pitching staff. And so we start instilling those things in seventh grade. And then we're adamant that every kid plays several positions and learn a lot of different things because you just don't know where they're going to end up. And we try to pitch at least 10 kids per grade starting in seventh grade so that we have a plethora of pitchers by the time they're sophomores, juniors, and seniors. And I think us being able to be hands-on on that stuff means that we don't have a grade where it's like, well, we only have 2 pitchers in this grade, or we only have, 1 catcher in the 2 grades combined. So it kind of gives us a lot of options as they get older. So kind of from a big picture standpoint, we try to replicate what happens in football programs, even though maybe not the minutia would be quite a bit different.
I was also thinking about this that I've known you for years, but I don't really know much about the Scott McGee background other than you come from the Mike Essick coaching tree at Ozark.
Yeah.
So kind of for those that are like me, kind of take us back, where did you play, high school, did you play college, and kind of give us the resume version of Scott McGee before we became a head coach at Willard.
Yeah, so I grew up in Ozark and played baseball, basketball, and football. Was very average to below at all 3 of them. Honestly, just didn't. You think you work hard until you get back and you get the opportunity to look back. I always approach things way more from a coaching standpoint than I ever did from a playing standpoint. I just wasn't enough of a worker away from the field to be a true impact player. But I got to start in football for Phil Montgomery. We made it to the state championship my junior year and had a good career there and played for Mike Essick. Did not play in college. Got a good ACT score. Was able to go to Missouri State for really cheap. And basically immediately started coaching. Coached with Mike Essick and Jason Hauser. They made a huge impact on my coaching career. When I graduated from Missouri State, I had a few different options, but I went back and coached football, girls basketball under Yancey Little, and then baseball under Mike Essick. And been fortunate that those guys were they were all real coaches. We kind of have this in this world of coaching. There's real coaches, and then there's guys who know sports. I got to work with a bunch of people who were real coaches, and it really developed me. And they also let me coach. They didn't just say, "Hey, you're gonna go over there and throw BP and don't talk to the kids." Like they let me coach, and it made a huge impact on my career. So we're able to win a couple state championships with Yancey and girls basketball, and one with Mike in baseball. I left before the 2008 season to take the head job at Willard, and Ozark won another baseball state title that year. And so I kind of just came from a lot of successful people that understood sports and got out here, took the job before I was probably ready to. And my first 3 or 4 years were a lot of learning opportunities for me and for everyone else. And now the last, I would say 13, 14, 15 years, I've improved, but also the program's just kind of been run the way I want it to run now.
And of course, when we talk about Willard baseball legacy, there's Papa Hart, John Hartley, that
yes.
I covered his teams back in the 90s, and always a close friend and a guy that did things the right way. And when you went to Willard, was there somebody between you and Hartley? I'm trying to remember.
No, so he took the C of O job, and it was before his son's senior year. So I actually got to coach his son Tyler. Mm-hmm. I think it was difficult. I was a young coach, and John Hartley did a phenomenal job out here. He had more of an offensive emphasis, and I'd come from a pitching background, and so I think it was a little bit of culture shock for all of us that first year or two. But John's been a huge supporter of our program. I still look up to him and ask him questions, and he's doing great things for area baseball still to this day.
Were there a few phone calls to John that first year when he was at C of O?
There were. It was hard because I think he probably wanted to make a few phone calls to me too to give me some more advice, but didn't want to overstep with me having his son as well. It was a tough dynamic for all of us that I think we all managed decently well at the time. But I think I think the world of John and his baseball knowledge. Yeah.
How far out does that Essex coaching tree expand now? I mean, I know that you mentioned Jason Hauser at Kickapoo. Who are some of the others that have gone on and still kept coaching that were under Mike at one point?
Casey Lettle, who is the head coach at Rogersville and does a great job. John Thompson is the head principal at Republic High School. Actually, Trevor Fisher played baseball for Mike in the summer because he was a Greenwood kid, and Greenwood didn't offer baseball at the time.
Yeah.
And I'm sure I'm missing some other guys who played for him, but those are kind of the ones who've coached underneath him. And then, of course, Justin Sunley, who's now the head coach at Ozarks. So, Mike made baseball in Southwest Missouri a big deal. Baseball was kind of just another sport. There was football and basketball, and then there was a huge drop-off. And Mike made baseball into a really big deal. His teams from 2000 through 2012 were just almost unbeatable in Southwest Missouri. And the rest of us just tried to catch him, and it's just made baseball so much better here. The baseball here now compared to the way it was 15 years ago is night and day, and Mike just raised the bar for everyone.
How old were you the first time that Phil Montgomery called you ham and egger? I mean, that had to be one of Phil's lines back in the 90s, and of course, Phil and I go back to those days when he coached, but fun guy to be around as a coach.
Yes, he was a fun guy to be around as a coach. I appreciate the thing I've appreciated about Phil, and I've tried to put into my own coaching and my own relationships, was he always told the truth. If you weren't good enough, he just told you, hey, you're not good enough to play that position. You're not good enough to do that. There was no sugarcoating things, and I think that level of honesty is pretty rare. Phil never intentionally hurt anyone's feelings, but he wasn't afraid to tell them the truth. And if their feelings got hurt, it usually worked out for you in the long run because you knew you had to get better. I just really appreciated that about him. He was the same way. When he thought you messed up as a coach, he wasn't afraid to say something to you. He's my AD. I was an assistant coach, young, hungry, trying to do things the right way. And when I messed things up, he was not afraid to say, hey, you shouldn't have done it that way. And I really appreciate that about him and still do to this day.
We'll talk about your current team here in a second and kind of what they've done at this point. But when you look at Willard Baseball from the Hartley years to your years and the consistency and the 20-win seasons, I think you only had not had a 20-win season once and since, 2010 or something crazy like that. What do you attribute it to? I know it's got to be a combination of kids that want to succeed and work hard and be the next wave of Willard Tiger stars. But, I mean, it goes to an administration and things like that. Do you feel like everything around you right now is set up for you guys to continue this? And I do see that you've got an artificial turf infield coming in, a year from now maybe?
Yes. Right. Yeah. They'll start constructing that late this summer.
Okay.
No, Jay Osborne told me once, he said administrations win championships. Like, you can be good as a program, but without the right administrators, you can't win championships because there's just so many little things that they have to help out with to help you get over the top. And I've been fortunate that I've only worked for good ADs. It was Phil Montgomery at Ozark. Then I've worked for Jeff Staley, Kathy Shoup, and Colt Blair. They're all legitimately good ADs. The principal situation's been up and down. We have a really good principal in Daniel Davis, who's a sports guy. He's actually one of my former assistants. He kind of runs the building now. Our superintendent is a huge supporter of sports with Dr. Eric Wilkin. And so I think the things are in place right now for us to be good for a while. More than that is probably just how many players value Willard Baseball. You talked about Division I players and stuff earlier, and I would love to have 10 of them. But sometimes those guys are so busy looking forward to what was going to come after high school that they weren't always sold out to just win for this team. And I've been fortunate that even the Division I players I've had, like Garrett Rice and like Dalen Stewart, who's at Missouri State now, were always sold out for the team and wanted to be really good. And then they just kind of passed that on down to the next group. And so there's not been a lot of selfishness. There's been a lot of former players reaching out when the team's maybe not playing well and saying, hey, guys, let's pick it up. Like, this isn't what Willard Baseball does. I don't want to compare ourselves to the U at Miami, but, you hear those stories about, like, Michael Irvin reaching out to those players and saying, guys, you got to play better. This isn't what we are. And we have guys that do that now in our current program. We have 18 guys playing college baseball right now, and they follow us. They're constantly asking how the guys are doing and reaching out and giving advice. And so it just kind of builds upon itself. And everyone knows they're contributing to the legacy of the program at this point.
You know, you talk about administrators. You got a new AD coming in next year with Katie Pritchard, the former Waynesville multi-sport star, Drury Lady Panthers standout, good girls basketball coach in the area, has had a lot of success with that. Heather Harmon Michael is your communication director. I was around both at Drury. My advice to you is don't challenge them at the lunch hour to maybe a little, knockout or any kind of shooting contest. You may be in trouble.
I know I would be. I actually scouted when I was at Ozark. We played Katie Pritchard. It was either her junior or senior year at Waynesville, and with the KTXR Lady Shootout, and she could really play.
Yeah.
She's just a very. You can just. I only have had some interaction with her, but she's a very driven person. She wants to succeed. She wants those around her to succeed. I think anytime you can put people who are very driven into positions of power in a school district, your school district just elevates. And it can be that they're very driven about marching band, or they're very driven about science EOC scores. But when you have driven people in charge, you can really make leaps as a school district. And so I'm excited for Katie to come in.
I think there's a lot to be said of what you mentioned that Jay Osborne told you. And I look around the area and Republic. I mean, Matt Pierce, a former Mizzou and Kickapoo football standout. Tyler Overstreet, baseball and football at Nixa, and Trevor Fisher, the AD. When you have, and John Thompson, you mentioned coaching, when you have people in place like that believe in athletics, have experienced what it can do, I mean, you're right. It's going to make it a better situation for all you coaches, correct? And I guess to parlay that is, do your kids get fired up when they play a Republic or a Nixa or an Ozark or a Kickapoo, especially the first three, because, and even a Rogersville now with the facility wars that are going on around, and, these big indoor facilities either up or planned, and you guys are just getting infield turf. I mean, is there kind of a little bit of, hey, we're Willard, let's go kick some butt mentality against these people we hear about all the time?
Yeah, I mean, I think we kind of have a little bit of a chip on our shoulder a lot of the time when we play people in sports. I think just from people are always kind of, you always kind of look for ways to feel slighted, but I also just think that we've been able to play those people in some big games. And, I think some of the barstool stuff gets out of control, but there's some of that stuff a little bit as well, that some fighting back and forth that really raises the level of competitiveness. And it's kind of rotates on who's our main rival, I guess you would say. There for a while it was Glendale. It's been Branson. Going back a while it was Nixa. You just kind of look at each year kind of brings its own little challenge of these are the big games on our schedule, and everybody's pretty fired up for them.
What is the enrollment gap between you guys and Republic, Nixa, and Kickapoo right now? How many students ballpark?
It would be about 700 each. They have about 700 more than us. Yeah.
So there is that, and it's on the chip on the shoulder mentality. It's a bigger school, and you guys go into those things and you beat Kickapoo. Have you played Republic this year?
No, we play them next week.
Beat Nixa.
So we have,
You're matter of fact, you're 21-5. Your only local loss was Ozark in a 1-run game. In 9 innings, I think.
Yes, day before we played Nixa. Hudson Roberts played really well against us, and I'm not saying we were overlooking Ozark at all, but we had beat Nixa back-to-back years, and someone had told me that someone had told one of our players actually that Nixa, they thought Nixa was the best team in Southwest Missouri over the last decade. This year's team was, and so I think our guys were pretty fired up to play that one, and so it was. I'm not saying we overlooked the Ozark game at all. Take nothing away from Ozark; they played awesome, but we were probably ready to play Tuesday more than we were ready to play on the Monday.
Well, and again, 21-5 this season. Last year's team wins the state championship in Class 5, 34-5 record. You lost 11 seniors off that team, if I read correctly. And yet here you are again, 21-5 wins over those teams we mentioned. Were these guys, these seniors this year and juniors pretty much next man up? We got to carry on the tradition.
Yes, we knew that. Our JV's only lost twice last year. We had a lot of juniors on our JV who could have played varsity at a lot of schools, and honestly probably could have started over a senior or two on last year's group. So we kind of knew coming in we would be ready to go. And our group of kids is just really good kids who want to succeed. And they're willing to do whatever it takes. If I have to ask them to take a strike or bunt or, whatever it is, they're willing to put themselves out there. And so our offense has been really, really good, better than last year's team. We're not as good on the mound. So it's just kind of a different way we've had to go about it this year. But, it's been – we knew we would be good. I don't know what we thought we'd be. I thought coming into the year, Nixa would be the best team in Southwest Missouri, and then there'd be a group of 5 or 6 of us that were about even. And I think we've kind of separated ourselves from that second group a little bit. So it's been a really good test for us.
Should mention that those 9 players returning were all starters at one point last year too, so they were playing key roles on the state championship team. And those 5 losses, the 4 losses besides Ozark, they were all Class 6 schools from out of the area. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah, we've lost to all Class 6 schools, and the other 4 from outside of our area. So it's been good.
It's a program that's been to 8 Final Fours. They won state championships in 2021 and 2024. Looking for another one this year. And I always turn to my guy Chris Parker at the Ozone when I need info. And he did a very good midseason baseball roundup here about a week ago, I think, that was talking about, I believe you guys are averaging almost 10.5 runs a game, and that's your most in like 10 or 12 years, 15 years, right?
Yeah, it's actually our most we've ever had. The school record for us since I've been here is 8.4 runs per game, and we're at 10.4 right now. We really have 11 position players right now that are playing really well. I've always tried to play a lot of guys. That's kind of been another thing. Like we graduated 11 seniors, and we have 9 seniors that got quite a bit of playing time. We'll graduate 9 this year, but I've got 6 or 7 that I've worked in that got quite a bit of playing time out of the sophomore and junior classes. And so it kind of allows us to develop some depth. I've kind of looked at it as a college baseball model. I know you're a huge Arkansas baseball guy, and Oklahoma and guys that you follow. Yeah. And, when they play midweeks, they play some other guys. They don't just run the same 9 guys out there every time. And so kind of trying to get some other guys in and opportunities like that. When we're playing Nixa, I'm playing my best 9 guys. But some other days, I'm not afraid to give a guy a day off and play somebody else and try to get them some experience throughout the year.
Tell me about some of those hitters. We'll get to Levi Hilton, the pitcher, here in a second, but tell me about some of the leaders of that offense and who've been big keys for you.
Matthew Angel, our shortstop, was second team All-State last year and has been better by every metric this year. He's going to Fort Scott Community College, and I think he has a chance to be a Division I player after that. Jarrett Nelson from Nixa did the same thing a couple years ago and is at Florida Gulf Coast. I think Matthew could be on that same trajectory. So he's been our rock. He's hitting in the 3-hole and done a great job. Jackson Phipps, which you might know his dad, Brock Phipps, ran Hammond's Field forever. Jackson hits in the 2-hole for us and plays center field. He leads the team in both home runs and stolen bases. Just a really athletic kid who's had a great season for us.
Before you go on, does he ever complain about center field grass out there at all, or is it in good shape?
No, he does not. His dad. I'm sure his dad wants to know why we do some things on our field sometimes, but he has been a huge asset to our program.
Yeah, carry on with
Yeah, you're good. Jackson's probably going to go just be a student in college because he is the 3rd-ranked student in his class. Wow. He's a 4.4 GPA and has a bright future outside of baseball. Cade Hyder, our leadoff hitter, is a second baseman, switch hitter. Going to be a very good college baseball player. He's just a junior. But those guys hit 1, 2, 3. They've been really, really good. And then after that, it's just been, our 4 through 9 kind of rotates around, but we've had good production everywhere. Caleb Hyder has kind of come out of nowhere. He was a junior who was 4 for 27 at the plate his junior year. And now as a senior, he leads the team in RBIs. He's hit with power. He's done a little bit of everything. Just a guy who's grinded his way through it and had a great year for us. So it's been a group.
Are they brothers?
They are brothers. Cade and Caleb are brothers. It's really cool to get to see them play together. I know both their parents are awesome people. And the other night against Webb City, they both hit home runs in the same game.
Oh, nice.
Which Caleb will occasionally hit home runs. Cade's never hit a home run. So for them to both hit a home run in the same game was really cool.
That is good. Yeah. And there's a kid named Jarrett McGee. Any relation?
Yeah, he's my son. had a good year last year as a pinch hitter. He's been up and down at times this year, but he's had some really big moments for us, and had a really good game for us against Webb the other night. And he has over 20 RBIs, and he's done some good things for us. So hopefully he can have a really big next few weeks. It feels like he's trending to being kind of the guy who might carry us the next few weeks.
Now, I know you've got a junior pitcher that you've called the best junior pitcher you've coached at that age in your time at Willard, Levi Hilton. Big kid, 6'2", 210. I assume throws pretty hard, 5-0 with a 1.4 ERA. Tell us about Levi and what makes him so good.
Yeah, he's he just attacks people with fastballs, and then he has a good breaking ball. It's not complicated stuff. He's been he's really put in a lot of work in the last 8 or 9 months to get better. As a sophomore, he was our number 4 pitcher, and knew he had to get better if he wanted to go to his goals. And so he's been up to 89. He hit 89 against Webb City on Tuesday. He hit 88 against Glendale. It was 89 against Nixa. He those our biggest game each week, and he's been really good for us. And then just his calmness probably is what separates him from some other people. He doesn't. We've had some guys that play with a lot of fire. Sometimes it's a positive, and sometimes it's to their detriment. He's just kind of a low heartbeat kind of guy, and just always calm and under some calmness, I guess you'd say. And so it brings some calmness to the rest of the team.
Now, he was your starting pitcher in the state championship game last year, right? Yeah.
Yes.
That requires that calm because, it's different maybe if you're in Columbia, but you're here in Ozark with, everybody there at the game and the state championship on the line. You better have some ice in the veins for that.
Yes, we had to throw a 1 and 2 in the semifinal, and Levi had never pitched out of the bullpen, so we decided to start him in the state championship and then bring our number 3 in. And their crowd was really good and really loud, and it was a really awesome environment. We played them late at night for the state championship, and Levi really had to kind of block all of that out, and got a really good start for him. And I think that really motivated him to say, I want to be the big game pitcher a year from now. And he's really worked to do that.
Got another pitcher that's undefeated, 4-0 with a 2.63. Is it Brighton or Britton? Brighton Tao. What are you doing taking a Tao out of Nixa? That's a Nixa name. What's he doing in Willard?
Yes, and his grandpa comes to all the games and wears Willard gear now. It's awesome. Randy
is he a Nixa? His parents were Nixa?
Yep. His dad, Trevor Tao, played at Nixa, and then his mom is a Bybee from Skyline.
Okay.
So there's a lot of good bloodlines there. Brighton's a huge Cardinals fan, so I get to make fun of him about that a lot because I'm a Cubs fan, and we're finally better than them again for a little bit. But yeah, Brighton's going to be an engineer. He's a senior pitcher for us. He's only 82 to 84, but he throws 4 pitches for strikes. You could tell he grew up watching Adam Wainwright. He thinks the game a lot like Adam Wainwright, and mixes his pitches and knows exactly what he's going to do. Even has some of the same mannerisms as Wainwright on the mound. It's kind of uncanny how when he gets angry with himself, how he kind of tucks that little bottom lip in and kind of talks to himself and then gets back on the mound and executes. It's really, really good. But Brighton's been outstanding for us this year.
I think you and I, when you're ready to retire, ought to match up some of these genetic lines of people we know that were stars in the 90s and 2000s that have kids or don't have kids yet, and pair them up. And let's make some Super Ozarks athlete kids and maybe sell our services for the pairing of them. What are you in or not?
I think it's a great idea. I think the Cantwells already kind of beat us to that with their own kid, but
yeah, they did. Jackson's got to be a laboratory kid,
Yes.
Yeah.
I think China did that with Yao Ming, and it worked out pretty well.
Exactly. Yeah. Colin Sparing, another one of your pitchers, correct?
Yes, Colin's our number 3 pitcher. He plays right field as well. He's going to Lincoln Land Community College. Colin's a super athletic kid. He was one of our best football players in the fall, and he's had some really good outings for us on the mound. He pitched a little bit for us as a junior and played some too, and so now he's kind of an everyday guy and been really, really good for us as well. So I'm glad you got to mention Colin, because Colin's just a very driven kid, and I think Colin's going to have a huge college career as well.
Well, it's kind of looking at the numbers. So you do a great job with your stats. pitching is limiting opponents to 219 batting average this year and 3.5 runs per game. Last year was 184 average and 2.5 runs per game. So you're pretty close to, what was a very good Willard staff last year. It's the hitting side at 345 as a team, and you guys hit 304 last year. So does this team have the makeup, you think, to maybe be a repeat? And has there been a Class 5 repeat in recent years?
No, there has not been. There's been in Class 6 with Liberty North, but not in Class 5. We definitely could. I think that, honestly, we're probably a little bit better than we were last year. But last year's group was so good at winning one-run games. They're just they knew exactly what they had to do at all times to get one run or prevent one run, and we ended up winning the state semi by 1, and we won our quarterfinal by 1. The one difference this year, St. John Vianney out of St. Louis has dropped down in class. They are 23-0 in Class 5. They have 6 Division I guys. That's going to be a really tough matchup. That would be our semifinal game, so we would be able to throw Levi in that. And then we would also have to go through Jordan Martin from Jeff City, who's I think he scored 2,600 points in high school basketball. He's going to Arkansas to pitch. He's really good, 6'6", 215, good athlete. So having to get through back-to-back rounds against those guys is going to be a real struggle. And honestly, Marshfield and Catholic are in our district, and they've both played really good baseball the last few weeks. So it's not going to be a cakewalk through that either.
Have they announced the district side and the dates?
Yes, so we will play at Central, will be our district, which is nice because of the turf infield. And it's that Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday. I think it's would it be March 22nd, 23rd, 25th, somewhere in there. That'll be when our district is. And
what's the rest of the regular season look like for you? You said you've got Republic next week?
Yes, we do. We have 3 games. We play Neosho, so we'll actually face a Division I arm tomorrow and Brady Crane, who's going to Arkansas. And then we play Friday, Saturday, and then next week we have 4 games. The following week 4, and then we'll get into postseason play. So I've got a couple of more 4-game weeks, and we're ready to go.
Your kid that's the number 3 in his class, I commend him because baseball basically is not in class the entire spring at every school, right? I mean, you guys got to cram 35 games into a window of about 4 weeks of good weather for the most part, right? 4.5, 6 weeks, yeah.
Absolutely. And so what ends up happening is guys leave the game, immediately go home and do homework until midnight, get up the next day, go to school. It is every sport prepares you for after high school, but the time management part of baseball really prepares you for being a college student. Because there's going to be a ton of distractions in college also, and you have to buckle down and do what you need to do. And if you're going to be a good student, you have to buckle down and do what you need to do. And sometimes that means you spend your Saturday afternoons doing 4 hours of homework. And so that's something that is a real pain.
I did see maybe on Twitter, have you got a Legends Day this Saturday? Does that sound? Yeah. Tell me about that and who's being honored.
So we started this back in 2019, where we decided we would start honoring 1 to 2 former Willard people and put them into what we call the Legends Club. And so our first one was Justin Atchison, who was an all-state player for us, an assistant coach who passed away in the fall of 2018. But then we've had John Hartley, and we've had several just big Willard contributors that we've put in. This year we're putting in Wes Brundridge, who graduated in 2003. He is now a medical doctor down in San Antonio. Played college baseball at Charleston Southern, a Division I program. And then Steve Vaughn, who is kind of the old sage, do-everything guy from Willard. He's been an assistant coach out here for 20-plus years. He built the dugouts at the field. If there's anything to do with Willard baseball, Steve Vaughn has made an impact in it, and so we're honoring him as well. So we'll honor both of those 2 this Saturday. We just kind of do 2 guys per year, and those were the 2 that were selected for this year.
You mentioned some of your kids and where they're going with this year's team, and some of them that have made it to, Missouri State and other levels. What are your thoughts on what the transfer portal is doing to high school baseball recruiting and high school recruiting in general right now?
Yeah, the portal has a lot of problems whenever you look at cost and everything else that have gotten out of control probably in Division I sports. From a high school recruiting standpoint, I'm personally loving it because, as an example, if you think you can play at the Division I level and you're not getting Division I offers, you can now go to Drury, you can go to Missouri Southern, you can go to Central Missouri. You play well, you can enter the portal and you can see if you're a Division I player. Where in the past you were basically required to go to junior college no matter what because of the transfer rules. And so I think that part of it's been really good. Furthermore, if you go to Missouri State and they decide, hey, he can't quite play here, now you can immediately transfer and go somewhere else and be eligible. So I like that aspect of it. I do think that we're going to have to find some way to put it in some contracts. Guys who are being paid $2 million to then opt out of bowl games is kind of ridiculous. We need to get some changes on some of that. But I think if you're a high school kid coming in, it kind of takes some pressure off of you on the recruiting aspect of it, other than find a place that believes in you, go somewhere, play well, and then if you think you can enter the portal, enter the portal.
Awesome. Well, before I let you go, I'm going to ask you to seed that Class 6 district. Since you've seen most of them, that's television worthy, isn't it? I mean, to try to hear those guys state their case. And we're talking about the one with Nixa, Kickapoo, Republic, Ozark, Neosho. Who else is in that Class 6? Am I missing?
Joplin and Glendale.
Yeah. How are you ranking that right now?
So just off having played a lot of these people, and I don't know who else beat who head to head, but I'm going to put Nixa 1 and Ozark 2. I think in that order, and then I believe Kickapoo's the third best team in that district. And then from there, you've got some real decisions to make, because when Neosho throws their guy, they're probably the fourth best team. And when they don't, they're probably the seventh best team. I think Branson's probably the 8th seed. So now you've got Neosho, Glendale, Joplin, and Republic, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I couldn't tell you which one's better than each on a given day. There's a chance if you're Neosho and Republic and you end up being the 6 and 7 seed, you're throwing a Division I arm in the first round. I would not want to be the 2 or 3 seed on that day. It's going to be outstanding baseball. I'm going to be sitting there while I'm watching other games in our district. I'm definitely be tuning in and watching games on that district. Hopefully Nixa live streams all of them, because they do a great job. I love their live streams. So hopefully they live stream some of these other games too.
So that means they're hosting, right? Nixa hosting?
I can't remember if it's Nixa or Glendale. I can't remember which one it is.
Okay. Well, this will come out overnight tonight. So tomorrow morning, your phone ought to be ringing for some coaching buddies saying, "What are you doing, McGee? I mean, we're the 2 seed. We're the 4. What are you talking about?"
And they very well might be. I don't know the head-to-heads. And honestly, you only get to see a team play 2 or 3 times. But I'm going back to the Phil Montgomery thing. You can kind of say what you want and express your opinion. It might be wrong, but I'm going to kind of say the way I think it is. And I will not be surprised if a 5, 6, or 7 team wins that district. I think every team has very good strengths, and I would say that every team in that district has a thing or two that could get taken advantage of as well.
You've got a little Phil Montgomery in you, don't you? Is that one of the things that you picked up from him? Is don't sugarcoat it. If you got to say it, say it.
Absolutely. I think that I even do this with our players, and I've said I think it makes it a little more real when I tell them that I really do think they can do something. Like if I say, hey, I think you can pitch a shutout today, because I've told them when I think they can't do something. I've just always tried to be pretty honest about that stuff. And I do know that sometimes it offends people and it makes people upset. And I understand that, but I think Phil Montgomery does those same things sometimes. But I know that Phil's always doing it out of a place of kindness, and I want everyone to succeed. I'm going to be tickled and so happy no matter which of the 8 teams win that district, because I've got friends on every one of those coaching staffs, to be honest with you. I like Southwest Missouri baseball is very competitive, but as coaches, we all get along really well and we all support one another. And I'm going to be super happy if Logan Hughes wins that district, and I'd be super happy if someone knocks him off in the first round, because that's going to be a big win for that program as well. And I like all of those guys. Well,
you never have to apologize to me, because I had that approach for 30 years, and some people still aren't over it, but you know what? Get over it. If you make them think, that's all it matters, right?
That's exactly right.
Yeah. Well, Scott, best of luck to you. Hope to see you guys back over at Ozark again in a state Final Four, and we'll be rooting for you. Okay.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me on.
You betcha. Scott McGee, the head coach of the Willard Tigers, does a fantastic job, and again, done a tremendous job of following in John Hartley's footsteps out at Willard. Papa Hart or Coach Hartley, whatever you want to call him, had that thing going, and Scott has taken it and built on it too. So congratulations to him, and best of luck to the Tigers and all the area teams. I mean, Southwest Missouri baseball is so competitive every year. You look at the players that we turn out to the college level and the teams that we have hoisting trophies at the end, and it kind of backs it up there. So Big thank you again to our sponsors, Fast Break Sports, 3109 South Campbell, your home for all things sports cards and collectibles. That includes the supplies, the card holders. You can get cards graded by sending them through Fast Break. I think today, as in April 30th, is the date for some new Topps baseball sets to drop. So you might swing by and see what's new and in stock at Fast Break Sports. And then the Pitch Pizza and Pub. Big thanks to Brian Bevel and the folks over there. They're in the Southern Hills Shopping Center off East Sunshine, one of my favorite places for lunch and dinner, from the pizzas to the smoked wings, calzones, always cold and frosty beverages, TV's on with sports to watch day or night, and great meeting room areas too. So if you've got a graduation party and you're scrambling around to try to find a place, give the folks at the Pitch a call and let's see what they can do for you to get you set up with that. Got a new sponsor coming on next week, a little early tip and a thank you to Thompson Sales. I've been buying cars from those guys for more than 3 decades, thanks to Scotty McGee for aging me with that opening there. But Miles and Tyler and Alex and Troy and all the folks at Thompson's good friends and will be a great sponsor. We're going to have fun with their segment, talking some fantasy sports during the sports seasons, maybe some sports gambling tips. Since they all think they're professionals at that, we'll have fun with it and bring them on live from time to time too. So that's going to do it for this week's edition. Again, thanks to everyone for watching. We'll see you next week on Around the Ozarks Sports Scene.